In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Seated, please. I've often complained to my family, I guess maybe once too often, that I was the only one in the family that didn't have a smartphone. My phone was actually very stupid. So this summer, they took the challenge, they took the bit, as it were, and they contrived to get me a smartphone, and now I've got a phone that's smarter than I am, I'm afraid. But there it is. So I've now taken to the very thing I used to criticize. You know how you see people sitting in families, sitting together in somewhere in a restaurant maybe, and they're all like this. And even little children going like this, and they all have phones. Well, I've joined the club, I'm sorry to tell you. And it's very addictive, the whole thing, that cell phone, the smartphone. But I think it's smart anyway. I don't know if it's the very smartest one, by the way, but it's certainly smarter than me. But one of the things I do nowadays is sit down and scan through the news that you get. And it's really a real hash. You get things like, so-and-so said that they're not going to talk to so-and-so anymore. I'm thinking, who are these people? I don't know them. I don't keep up with Hollywood or movie stars or any of that. And then sandwiched in between that, you get important news reports about disasters or things happening all over the world. It's quite a mix, a jambalaya of stuff. Well, the other day, here's my point. The other day I was going through like this and came across a headline. And every so often I'll stop and see a headline, and I might actually read the article if it's from a reputable newspaper or something. But this headline was, Westminster Abbey is no longer going to ring, they're dropping some of the royals from their, from the honor of ringing the bells for their birthdays. Well, I'm not, even though I'm married to a British woman, I'm not really that interested in the royal family. And neither is she, by the way. But this one, I said, oh, what are they doing? Just because, what's his name, Andrew has proven himself to be a dirty old man, and maybe they're angry at Harry and Meghan, or they're dropping them for ringing the bells. What's Westminster Abbey getting into this for? So I read the article out of curiosity and discovered that it's not a matter of disrespecting any of the royals or because they're angry or grumpy about some of their behavior. It's simply a matter of economics, sorry to say. But the Abbey, like everything else in this world right now, is hurting a little bit financially, and they have to look at ways like, how are we going to cut back on some expenses? You may not realize that when you pull the bell ringers out, they don't do it for free, and that involves a large number of people in English bell tower. So, they thought, well, we can cut the expenses by just ringing the bells for the Queen and Prince Charles. And apparently they worked it all out of the palace, and it's all good, it's not anything, even though the headline was there to draw you into another one of these little dramas. It was all about the building. And it was all about financing the building, something which every Christian church, every parish in the Episcopal Church certainly knows very well what it means. It's a sign of our times. We worry about our buildings, we struggle with them, we agonize over them and what to do for them. I'm told by my good friend who's the Dean of Southwark, the Southwark Cathedral in London, that one of the things that they sort of agonize over is that the new Archbishop, well, not new anymore, but the current Archbishop of Canterbury was formerly a banker, and he's therefore very concerned about buildings and how we finance them and all of that. He wants all that. He's trying to whip the cathedral chapters into shape so that they run a good, everything runs ship shape, and it just, they're getting bang for the buck, as it were, or whatever they get bang for over there. So this is a sign of the times, and we know in our own diocese, you hear talk from on high about agonizing, wringing hands over buildings. Now, we've all been told, ad infinitum, forever and a day, that the church is not the building, it's the congregation. Absolutely true. This is theologically correct. Blah, blah, blah. But we as congregations, everywhere, and for many, many decades, for many, many centuries now, have had buildings. It's just part of what happens for any Christian community, and not even just for Christian communities, but for all religious communities. It even have in the story from the Old Testament today, the story of what happened when Solomon, the great and wise King Solomon, built a temple in Jerusalem, a place where, even though he knew full well that God, who contains all things in himself, can't possibly be contained in any one place, and yet there was this sense that we need a place. We need somewhere that we can, feel his presence, that we can know that we belong to him, that we can reaffirm our commitment, our life, our true life in God. And so he built a sanctuary, and we hear the prayer this morning, we hear a report rather this morning in the Old Testament reading that we heard of that day that they dedicated or consecrated that temple in Jerusalem, and that we hear the prayers of Solomon, that the place would be a place of prayer, that people can come, know the loving kindness of God, the forgiveness of God, that even foreigners can come and be heard in that place by a loving God. And from time immemorial, long before even the Judeo-Christian tradition, people have always put aside places. They have places where they sense that God is more present, or at least they can sense God's presence in a better way. This is nothing new. The struggle is nothing new. And as Westminster Abbey decides to, cut back its the bell budget for a little, the bell ringer budget for a little bit, well, this is the kind of things we do sometimes as we struggle through as communities of believers. But we have buildings, and especially in the case of Christian churches and Anglican Episcopal churches especially, our buildings are more than just a place. They're a place of beauty, of art, a focal point in communities, and all of that. They almost are, they are a presence. They represent a presence. And that shouldn't strike us as unusual. Because here's the thing. Our Christian faith, as we as Episcopalians, a Catholic bunch of Christians, understand it, the very heart of our Christian faith is about life in this real world. We understand that the God whose word was spoken at the beginning of creation, who called forth light and life by his word. In the beginning was the Word was with God, and God was the Word. We understand that the Word became flesh. St. John tells us in the first chapter of the Gospel according to John, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. In theological language, it's called the incarnation, the infleshment, the making real, if you